Hello. I am a little bit under the weather. I don't know if that phrase, why I use that phrase. Of course, as soon as I hit record, I got a magnet storm notification. That's about magnetism. No. Okay, I'm definitely a little loopy. It is not about magnetism. Energetically, it's about magnetism. It's 5 o'clock on the dot as I hit record, and I had not been paying attention to the time. I just got the urge to record, and then magnet storm, some of you may be familiar with it, but it's like a solar flare app, essentially. Anyway, so I haven't even tapped into the solar flares, but I do have a migraine, like the last off and on, maybe day or so. And I was supposed to be doing a personal one-to-one session, literally right now. I didn't even realize that. And I asked to postpone until tomorrow because I wanted to be able to, show up in the best energy I could. And I do still feel like the migraine that I was having, it's becoming more faint. And oftentimes I'm being taken to this video or documentary, something that I watched years ago. I can't remember now, honestly, but it was about certain people who are so tuned into the Earth's atmosphere, the tectonic plates, the shifts of the Earth. And I'm putting all of this together now, different intuitive hits and points that have been coming through the last couple days. And I kept seeing a reference to earthquake season, and then something about I just heard the Schumann ray. Interesting. The Seraphim Gateway was coming through in a transmission a few weeks ago. The Schumann ray. Yeah, so I suppose this is coming through as I'm seeing this shimmering. I'm hearing antimatter. Very interesting. Whew. Yeah, so I know not everyone will feel this way, and that's totally okay. I'm just transmitting the message that I'm feeling the most deeply. And as I was laying here, off and on with this migraine, I guess you could say I get them every so often. I used to get them a lot more when I was younger, and I don't get them as much now. And I've been shown different ways of confirming that some of us sort of assist with the purging of specific densities, frequencies, however you want to identify. And I've heard other people say that that's just a limiting belief. So yeah, please only take this if it resonates with you. I have tapped into this in different ways, and it doesn't always have to be a migraine, by the way, either. I just heard someone ask, is it always a migraine? I don't know. No, it doesn't always have to be migraines. I just wanted to check in and see how deeply this specific area wants to be unearthed. And just heard switch. Okay. So we're going to start there, and then I'm just going to kind of let the energy come in as it comes. I was also just shown an image of again, that shimmering energy is coming through, shimmering stardust. I did record a transmission in the last few months about creating a portal in the astral that took myself through this space, and I wound up in like a more less dense but still earth reality. So some of you could have just come from there, or maybe there's a message in there for you, but it's sort of a similar frequency that's coming through. And when I went through this portal in the dream space that I created, the really important part of that is that I was walking up these steps in this hallway, and I stopped on one of the landings, and I could have kept going, and it was like tiring, you know? And I was like, what am I doing? I can just create a portal. Like, I've already done these steps. Like, I don't need to go up these steps again. It's kind of like, I don't think I got that exact message before, but it's coming through this way now. It's like, I've already done these steps, you know? Like, steps can obviously represent like ascension, whether that's emotionally, physically, spiritually, physically, all of the above. One of the above may plug in differently for each person, but yeah, there's this like, and this is not to say, by the way, to negate any or bypass anything. This was more of like a remembrance of working with energy. So yeah, I just want to make that very clear. Okay, so in the dream, I stopped on one of the landings, and I just said, what am I doing? I know how to create a portal. And boom, I just created a portal, and I went through the portal. And then that's when I came into this I just keep hearing like etheric realm, like earthly etheric realm. And this like very beautiful pink, golden, shimmering, it's like the air itself was plasma. So if you've heard of like snow, or like when people say they're seeing snow in their reality, like in their vision, it was almost like pink golden plasma snow, but like more manifest, like not just in the background. It was just so beautiful. And when I got there, I invited someone to come with me. So this is like a very masculine, feminine type of thing that's been coming through a lot lately. And yeah, both energies showed up in this, on the other side of this portal. Anyway, so coming back to the beginning of this message and this transmission connected to like the idea of magnetism. And I want to say, as I'm talking through this, my migraine is still present. So if any of you are very deeply empathically sensitive and can feel other people's energy in that way, I am asking for like a little bit of a protective layer, unless you're meant to feel it for some reason. Or maybe you're doing that for yourself, and I'm just asking for it to be amplified. But I was still guided to do this because I did cry a little bit just recently, and I feel like there any like emotional connection to that part of the purging process. I feel like the emotional component was just transmuted, and now I'm just like observing the feeling of like it's almost like a shell of a migraine. It's really interesting. So for any of you who like work with pain in that way, like not just, oh, I'm in pain, which that's okay too. But this is for those of us who feel like we want to understand pain, the emotional component to pain. Like sometimes now, you know, I will, when I have these experiences, when I first started getting migraines, I did not do this at all. I would take a bunch of NyQuil, and I was like 18, and go to bed because they were so intense and I didn't understand them. And then of course, God, that was what, I'm going to be 38 soon, so almost 20 years ago. But yeah, now that I've sat with them and had different experiences with them, sometimes I know it's just, I need to just lay here and let it do its thing. And I've gotten much more fine-tuned with the process. And I had been feeling a call to do a fast for a little while, and I was doing intermittent fasting, but it just wasn't the right moment. And then I just knew last night, I stopped eating like earlier than usual because I'm technically on vacation right now. And trust me, it's not easy. Maybe some of you have gone through this to like break away from the group and do what you need to do for yourself. But that being said, last night I was like, and I woke up at like 3 or 4 in the morning with the migraine intensified, and I was like, I cannot eat. I can barely drink water. I've been sipping on Blue Lotus tea water, and I just right now, actually, like within the last half an hour, had a little bit of my Ormus Gold powder, and I think my fast, I wasn't even trying to fast, but I believe my 24 hours will be, it's 5:10, so that's my mom's birthday. That could be relevant for someone, a mom's birthday. Yeah. In like 2 hours, it'll be about 24 hours that I haven't eaten and just sipped on tea. Anyway, I'm sharing that because I'm not telling anyone what to do, by the way. I'm just sharing my experience in case anyone else is going through a similar process, and or there's like something coming through for you that could sort of fall in that realm. It did actually start, I'm with my niece and my nephew and my friend who is like a sister, her daughter, and both girls are under 2, and they both had this like throat little congestion. So it kind of started off like that. Like I could feel that from them, and then it like shifted into a migraine. So like I said, it's only been about like a day. I don't know why I'm going so deep into this. Yeah, I think there's something about the cellular purging that's been coming through for a lot of us off and on, and clearing space, and for those of us who feel like we are connected to, I haven't checked like any weather patterns or anything, but if anyone knows of any like weather, especially related to earthquakes and or the Schumann resonance, feel free to share that, because I do feel that intuitively that there's something happening or going on. I just heard the word breakthrough, and maybe like breakthroughs coming in, maybe in like the research, but there could also be like tectonic plate shifting right now. Yeah. I remember, I don't know why I'm being shown this, but I don't remember, maybe like 2 years ago-ish, I was just sort of practicing to start sharing my transmissions channels, and I just wasn't quite there yet, and I recorded this like half an hour, 45-minute transmission about exactly kind of like this, like something I was feeling intuitively through my body that was connected to the earth and the movement of the earth and weather patterns. And I remember I like was so, I felt like I just completely was like, I'm not, this is crazy, like I can't do this. And then I think I deleted the channel, and then right after I deleted it, someone sent me something to like confirm what I was just talking about, and I was like, oh wow. So some of you could be going through this process yourself, like, or maybe this is something you've already gone through, and maybe you're helping others. But yeah, and it does not have to be in relation to just channeling in this way, but just something that you feel so deeply, and sharing it in general may feel like, well, scary, and or like you don't trust yourself. So yeah, there's something. I just also released a self-trust transmission, so there could be something in there as well. But it does feel like there's an element coming through around like clearing those cellular patterns around what I was just speaking on. Also, the migraine was really located like in my left temple in particular for most of the time. I noticed that very, very intensely. And I just wanted to say that some of the like emotional connections that stood out to me for that particular area one of them was separation from joy. The temples are sometimes associated with a person's connection to joy and courage. Pain in this area, particularly on the left side, may indicate a separation from one's joyful state. So And it's funny because a few weeks before this recording, I kept seeing hummingbirds, which often emanate the frequency of joy in the spiritual meanings. So it does feel like there could be this they're showing me the Schumann resonance again, and that glittery energy. So it's kind of like clearing way to make space for holding more joy. And I'm not someone who really believes that walking around in every single moment of every single day needs to be an excessive joy. It's not about faking that or forcing it. It's just this a next octave of peace that can sort of manifest outwardly as a more joyful state. And, so that doesn't mean you don't have moments of non-joy, I just wanted to say that. Okay, I just heard a frequency pitch in my left ear. And there was another aspect to the emotional component of left temple pain. I'm going to read all of the highlights, but I'm only going to, I meant to say bullet points, but I'll only tap into the highlights that are coming through strongly. So I already mentioned separation from joy, relationship stress, blocked emotions, resistance to introspection, feminine and intuitive energy, feminine energy balance, ignoring intuition, higher consciousness activation, and then external energy and interference. So external energy and interference. Some believe that temple pain can signal an energetic conflict with another person, or this can happen when you're too open and the energy of someone else is too strong around you. And it's funny because I was talking about this earlier in this transmission, if you're really susceptible to feeling other people's stuff. So yeah. Also, I have been in a different environment than I'm used to the last month, and I could feel my body was needing a break. Anyway, I've just been going a lot faster than I usually do, and I was my body eventually is going to be we need to just basically sit in a room for 18 to 24 hours. So that's exactly what's happening. So some of you may be experiencing this in some way. There's also what stood out to me the most, because before I even did a Google search, I tapped into my temple and asked it, just sat with the energy and was pulling through information. And I was feeling that it was an activation, and that this was another, especially on the maternal lineage, another clearing, forward, backward, present. I heard all realms, all dimensions, all spaces, all places that were cleansing, clearing, and integrating. So then when I saw this bullet point, it really stood out to me. I heard in my head ding, 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 higher consciousness activation. For those who meditate, pressure or headache in the temple area can sometimes be seen as a positive sign. It may indicate that deep-seated emotional programming is being released, allowing you to reach a higher state of awareness. So yeah, but if any of the other bullet points stuck out to you, there could be multiple as well. Feel free to dive deeper into that if you feel called. Okay, I just paused for a moment to recollect my thoughts, and it paused on 1855. So a lot of us that tune into numerology, 555 can mean significant changes. And the fact that it came through as 55:55, for me, it keeps breaking down into masculine, feminine. So there's significant changes in both of the internal polarities within us, and that could manifest outwardly with an external person as well. And the dream that I had last night, I was going to save this for a different transmission, but as soon as I saw the numbers and I just tuned in, that I was shown that. So that is where I'm going to go. Okay, so I woke up, like I said, around, 4 a.m.-ish, 4 a.m. with that migraine. And in the dream that I was having, I immediately remembered when I woke up, there was a I'm going to use myself as the collective feminine, and then I've been doing this quite often recently. The energy must be really strong in this area because it continues to come through. And then a masculine is like the collective masculine, even though it was just like me and someone else, but it's coming through as a collective energy. Okay. So in this dream, I like somehow was alerted that the collective masculine died. And it was really interesting because I didn't quite have any sort of like, I don't remember how I found out. I just like somehow knew. And, you know, sometimes in the astral perspective, or like to call it the astral physics of what we often refer to as dreams, there can be this nonsensical way of things showing up. And so, yeah, I basically heard this information and was like, and in the dream, we were in like, the last time we spoke wasn't great. Like, we just kind of haven't spoken since. And so I was like, I had no idea, you know, where anyone stood. It was just like, he just, you know, that was it. And I was like, okay. And normally I had felt very connected to this masculine energetically, emotionally, like even if we weren't speaking physically, it was like, I still felt them all the time. So you could be going through something like this and not, of course, the death card in tarot is coming forth. And I looked up, sometimes I just like to look up dream symbolism to help expand the metaphysical, like, translation of some dreams, but generally I go with what I feel, but I will look stuff up as, like I said, like a metaphysical lens to help translate. And if you look at the death card in tarot, of course, transformation is generally the theme. And so, yeah, there's something about this deep transformation that's been coming forth. Now, the significance to some of the nuance in the stream feels really relevant. As I was going through the motions, I started to feel extremely detached, and I couldn't feel this person's energy anymore. And now in the dream, I guess I was still connected to other realms and, you know, could connect with beings through many planes, whether or not they were incarnated on Earth or not. But for this particular collective masculine, I all of a sudden just felt like a detachment, like I couldn't feel their energy anymore. And I was like, oh, perhaps they're in the life review phase, because oftentimes if I've tried to connect with beings who I knew crossed over, even though like time kind of manifests differently from other realms, there's still like a perceived connection that, you know, it's like they're going through something. Anyway, so I was reminded when I woke up of a dream, like I said this to myself in the dream, and then I was reminded of a transmission that I recorded within the last few months, a life review. So there could be messages in there as well. And in like, I believe some Tibetan practices where they don't really save all of the life review until they cross over. They do this like a nightly practice where before they go to sleep, they like tune into their, you know, karma dharma and transmute that way. And I don't do it every night, but that's something that I do for myself. So maybe some of you have that practice as well. Anyway, so that was coming through. And then once I was feeling also kind of numb in the dream, like once I found out this news. So fast forward, there was a show that I watched recently, Upload. And in the show, if you're familiar with it, the uploads have these angels, right, that help them through this process and guide them into their new realm of consciousness. And it's really funny because something told me to go to the funeral, and I thought that I met the collective masculine's mom along the way, but it actually was someone that I used to work with who actually did pass on from this realm. Her her name was Anna Marie, so that name could be relevant for someone. I worked with her when I was like putting myself through court reporting school as a server. Anyway, so she was there, and I thought it was the Collective Masculine's mom, and she was like, oh no, that's not me. And she was like sitting on top of a table. I remember, I don't know why that feels so significant, and like talking to me from the top of the table. And like she was just sitting there casually, and like she had a mole above her lip and like long reddish auburn hair and a high ponytail. And she just was like very like, blah, 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 just like very chatty. I don't remember really what she was saying, but I don't know if that could be relevant for someone. So once I like sat with her for a second, I was like, okay, then it was like time to move on. So then I moved on, and it's really interesting because then I was at the funeral, and I was about to walk through like the threshold, like through the door into the funeral. And I stopped for a second, and I was like, I didn't even know how I got there. I was like, how did I even know about the funeral? How, it was just like, I was there. I was like, okay, here we are. And as I was like again walking through the doorway, I observed for a second. I looked around the room, and there weren't many people there. It was like a small amount of people and when I say small, maybe like 15 people. And like the energy in the room felt like chaotic, and not in a way like, oh, someone just passed away, chaotic, in a way of like everyone was there for their own personal agenda. It was like no one was really celebrating this masculine. It was more like, how was it affecting them, or like, and anyway, so in the room it was like, let's see, like a couple of seemingly lifelong friends that like, honestly, they looked very like, just in like a very, let's say, rough state of mind, like didn't seem sober. They seemed like maybe like abusive in some way, like these type of energies. And then the feminines in the room all seemed like flings, but like, okay, this is really particular. So one of the women in the room was like almost like a claymation Barbie doll figure. When you watch like some sort of like lifelike animation, claymation's coming to mind. It doesn't have to be claymation. So she wasn't like actually human. She was like this claymated figure, and she looked like a Barbie doll. But like, when a lot of kids go through the phases where they have a Barbie doll and they like cut a hand off and start to cut the hair and rip the clothes, and it's just like a disheveled Barbie. It was like that, and she was also like dipped in chocolate. Anyway, so I was like, what? And it kind of showed me this like, we can get into the idea of like beauty standards and like, masculine, feminine, maybe karma clearing around, like maybe for the masculine, thinking a particular feminine they need to be with physically, through like programming of society, and or then the feminine thinking they need to meet these specific standards. Anyone can do anything they want with their body. This is not me trying to tell anyone anything of that nature. I'm just sort of bringing through the imagery and like what could possibly be coming forth. So yeah, there could be these like the death card transformation of some of these perspectives, like having people in your life, if you had a funeral and you showed up and it was all of that kind of energy. It's like, imagine what that does to your daily life if you're still involved in that type of experience. And honestly, the word hose kept coming through. I do not use that word as like the way it sounds. It's just what came through the dream. So this could also just be like a lens or a perspective that also is like cleansing and clearing, And in the first pew, it was like benches and pews, there was Angel. She called herself Angel. And this is the second time I've had a dream recently where a being identifies themselves as Angel. Floor Angels was the last one. And it's funny because it was literally the personified character from Upload. I believe in the show her name was Nora, so that name or initials could also be significant. And she was sitting in the first pew, and she was like, oh my God, you made it, like, come here. And I was like, okay. And I came and sat with her, and she was like, this was such a big deal for you to show up. Like basically like congratulations, like you showed up here not knowing how this person felt about you, just to like show your love and your respect. So it was like this whole thing about also Krishna and Radha. I hope I'm saying that correctly. That dynamic has been coming through the last few days. I kept hearing references to Krishna and the word devotion. So there is something about like devotion to compassion, devotion to the unconditional love template, like not necessarily just like a person, but like the integrative aspects of the self. And I have been seeing for years now this like liquid light purple plasma energy. When I say purple, it almost doesn't do it justice. I mean, it's purple, but it's like ultraviolet. It has consciousness, like it's so layered and nuanced. But for human sake, we'll say ultraviolet and purple. And today I listened, something popped up on my feed, who I haven't heard from in a long time. I believe she calls herself Channel the Light. I think her name is Erin. And she brought through this collective connecting through the color purple, which isn't that itself like a book? I didn't mean to talk about that book, but that could be relevant for someone. Maybe like the purple ray, but really it was coming through as this like, I often talk about oversoul and or high self embodiment, and I was talking about it on Patreon in the last few weeks, and then she today came through specifically with the color purple as descending into the body, like the oversoul, high self, however you want to label it, descending into the body, which in anthroposophy is often called etherization of the blood. So I've been talking about this topic a lot lately, and just hearing her take on it was really, I just felt like I wanted to share it because I just felt guided to. So yeah, that could also be coming through for a lot of you. And I often talk about the hierogamic template and union in this way. So that's one way it can manifest, is it almost feels like that is the level of consciousness, the attunement and the refinement of descending into the physical vessel that then brings in this external experience in however that shows up for you. And that's something also repeatedly that I've been feel like getting this message, and something just dropped on the floor as I said that. I just heard in my head, it's so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I don't know why that came through, but I heard that. The word stillness is coming through. I'm actually recording this in Lake Tahoe, and the trees here are just, I don't know if you've ever been, they're just a whole other level. And even if like I'm with other people, there's still just like the stillness that's present in this land, so that could be coming through for some of you. But back to the dream, there's another part that feels really important. I feel like I've been going on for so long about this dream, but it's 33 on the timer and 33 on the clock. And this has been happening also. This happened in the last transmission, with the time reflecting the recording. Yeah, now it's 33. So you could be seeing those numbers, and there's something about ascended master consciousness that's coming through, and wheels. I've been seeing so I'm like an hour away from a town called Truckee, and someone years ago, before I had ever even been to Lake Tahoe, pulled through the town Truckee and was talking about this ascended master frequency. So now I'm kind of connecting the dots that manifest through the land. And it's funny because right before I started recording, I was curious how far away I was from Truckee. I'm like 40 minutes, I think, from there, maybe an hour. And I've just been seeing, there's something about the wheel. There's something like the name of the town was because of something to do with wheels. And the room I'm staying in, there's a black and white photo of wheels and this circle that has maybe I'll take a picture of it and post it, because I'll do that. It will be in the beginning of the transmission. And the significance to this circular, like squiggly line type of circle, this is the second or third time I've seen this in like 24 hours. Like it's in this room I'm staying, but then it also popped up on Pinterest, and it's like, what is the symbol? I haven't like sat with it yet, but it is coming through. And this idea of ascended master consciousness connecting through certain land grids, organic ascension grids, crystalline grids. There is something again about that stardust energy that's coming through, and the Schumann resonance, the solar flares, and the emanations of light. And they're showing me like the aquiline sun codes, and basically like when we're descending the higher, if you want to call it like high self, oversoul aspects within the vessel, it's like we have our sun here, and then the layers of sun that's transmitting through our central sun, and then the galactic sun, and showing me Andromeda galaxy, and the then like the liminal space. Interesting. So they're showing me, layers of sun consciousness, SUN, our own inner central sun, and then like these nuanced realms within those communication of sun rays. So back to this idea of the dream. So after the funeral, I wind up in a friend's apartment who I haven't seen in a while. I don't know if it was her apartment exactly, but we were sitting together, and it wasn't my apartment. I feel like it was her apartment. And I remember we were looking out the window, actually, and I looked at her and I was like, do you think the collective masculine really died, or is this like symbolic? And I asked for like a sign or something, and as soon as I looked out the window, I saw like a fake rainbow. It was like, at first we thought it was a real rainbow, but it was like, again, that claymation is coming through. It was like an artificial rainbow. And it was like, oh no, that was just like a symbolic aspect for a layer of consciousness that is dying off and transmuting into this next phase. So yeah, again, this is both internal and possibly external. And back to the idea of like purging or ascension symptoms, things like this. Anytime I bring that through, like, always, of course, please use your discernment, because that is so important. Trust yourself with any type of care that you need, or whatever professionals you need. This is just bringing through the energetic aspects and the way that I have worked with this type of experience. But as I said that, the right side of my pineal just started to like pulsate. Ooh. I'm seeing a lot of red now, like layers and shedding. I'm doing that a lot, like pushing two words together by accident. Layers and shedding. Maybe it's not an accident. Layers and shedding of just like reds and oranges. So yeah. Also, in addition to the throat, because at first I mentioned that like the throat was really acting up. And now most people, that I'm with, everyone in the house I'm with is like, oh, you just have a cold. Do you want medicine? And I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. I need to go do this in my own way. So there's that perspective too. Like maybe to someone it's just a cold, and that's okay. But so it started in the throat, and then it went up to the nose, and then it was going through like the sinuses, and then it wound up in the temples as a migraine. And I share that because when I was laying here, I was doing a lot of meditations off and on. I also tried to watch a show at one point, but I couldn't listen to the sound, so I more just kind of laid there. But then I felt my lower belly like lighting up. It was like something was so moving through the lower belly. So you could purge through like the bowels, through like vomiting a little bit. Some of that was coming through as well. But yeah, it definitely felt like it was like right where the root and the solar, I meant to say the sacral, but okay, the solar, right where the root and the sacral meet, and then the solar feels like it's interesting. It's like the energy is pushing down from the solar and up through the solar. It's like the solar is emanating up and down and then through angles of light, and assisting in this process. So that's sort of what I was getting with that piece. It wasn't as intense in the lower area, but it was still present. Okay, I think I'm going to call it here, and then I will do an overflow, a Patreon overflow, and tap deeper in and see what wants to come through. Of course, please take care of yourself if you're someone who's going through something like this. I know my body was really craving broth, so I'm probably going to start with just having some like water with lemon. I've been drinking chlorophyll water and some broth. I did just see someone posting about like the importance of pineapple. Like pineapple can be really helpful for like anti-inflammatory and stuff. So some of you may be craving pineapple. It was like a mix of like pineapple, jalapeno, ginger, and parsley, which for me, chlorophyll is like kind of taking in that parsley place. But yeah, there was something also like sometimes like that much heat, like an acid, my body doesn't do well with. So please like listen to your own body. I also have been guided to drink like in Ayurveda, they do warm water with honey on an empty stomach. So I actually might start with that and then have some broth. I don't know why I'm sharing all these details. There could be someone here maybe having like a similar experience, like I said, but that probably won't be for everyone. But yeah, my point is like just to tune into your body and see what it needs, if that's something that you feel called to do. I'm hearing some of you maybe on the other end of this, which I also go through these phases too, where like I'm just so hungry and I just feel like I need to eat, whatever my body needs in that moment to like feel grounded. So you could be in that side of it as well. You could just be like, why am I so hungry? I'm so hungry. So, they're showing me how like these different pulses of light that come through will like be received through each of us, kind of like an obstacle course. Like, maybe a group of us are doing like this purging right now through the physical body, and others are like just an anchor right now and needing to like eat more to sustain that anchoring. And then some people may just be in the more, when I say just, all roles are equally important. I just, overuse the word just. I'm working on that. It's like there's this distribution of ways that we can like cycle through, and most of us probably go through these different experiences like cyclically, but it's like some of us are guided to do different things at different times to balance out the transmutation process. Is kind of what I'm being shown. Okay. Of course, it's 43:43 on the timer and 5:43 on the clock. And if you've heard me before, a 43 is always my masculine collective number. So that feels very significant to close out. Yeah. Okay, thank you.